Shalom. Hi, this is Abe Sandler, and I want to welcome you to Truth on Tuesdays. And our congregation is called Maatzor, Rock of Ages Messianic Jewish Congregation. Maatzor in Hebrew means Rock of Ages. It comes from a 1,000-year-old song written in Hebrew that goes like this: Maatzor Yeshuati. And that first part, Maatzor, means Rock of Ages. Yeshua, many of you recognize as the name Jesus in Hebrew, and Yeshua means deliverer or salvation. And the Yeshua T, the T part, means my salvation. So our congregation calls to mind the fact that Yeshua is our salvation, and he's the one who's the Rock of Ages. And God has called our congregation to grow a community of followers of Yeshua and bring him to Jewish Pittsburgh and beyond. And so today we're asking, what is today in Israel? And it's gone after sundown. It's the next day in Israel. But this Tuesday in Israel was Memorial Day, the day of remembering fallen soldiers and the victims of terror, people who have given their lives, that the Jewish people have reestablished themselves in the land that God promised would be theirs, promising it to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob 4,000 years ago. And so this comes on the 4th of Iyar, which is almost 2 weeks after Passover. It's one day before Israeli Independence Day. Passover is the time of remembering how God brought us out of slavery in Egypt and brought us into the land. And then this Memorial Day is a time to remember in the past century or so, those who have given their lives to see the promise of being reestablished in the land come to pass. And then after all this remembering, then the next day is Israeli Independence Day, where we celebrate all that has been done for us before. Now we celebrate and enjoy being in the Isaiah talks about this. Isaiah prophesied in his ministry as the Jewish people were in the process of going into captivity in Babylon because we had not listened to God as we should have. But God said, I'm going to regather you from where I scattered you and bring you back to Israel after 70 years. And so this is happening around Isaiah's time. But then in this prophecy I'm about to read to you, God talks about regathering his people for a second time, for he's gathered them throughout the world, from the north, the south, and the east and the west, and bringing them back to the land once again. So it says, in that day, in these last days, the nations will turn to the root of Jesse. Root of Jesse is a term for the Messiah, fulfilled by Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth. And it says in that day, we're talking about the nations, the Gentiles, will turn to the Messiah of Israel. That's today, as Gentiles are believing in Jesus, and he will stand as a banner, as a signal, as a sign from God to the nation that God has revealed himself in the person of the Jewish Messiah, in the person of Jesus. So in the day that the doing that, God says he's going to make his resting place glorious. And we're going to come back to that in a second, about him making his resting place glorious. And it will happen on that day, the next verse says, that I am, that is Jehovah, will again regather for a second time with his hand the remnant of his people, and they will forever remain in the land. After the gathering of Babylon captivity, coming back and being in the land, there'd be another time the Jewish people would be scattered, and again they would be regathered, but this time they would forever remain in the land. And here on Israeli Memorial Day, there is a flower that is used to remember those who gave their blood and their lives in the process of seeing this fulfilled, and it's called the red forever flower in English. In Hebrew, it's called Dam HaMaccabim, or the blood of the Maccabees. The Maccabees were the heroes of Hanukkah. The Greeks had come in with their army and was conquering Israel physically, but also Greek thought and philosophy had taken over many of the priests and the leaders in Israel. But the Maccabees said, no, we want to listen to the word of the Lord and be part of the covenant we made with him back at Mount Sinai. And so the Maccabees, small in number, but trusting in the Lord, were able to overcome both the army and also the false philosophies and ideas that came in from the Greeks. And as they were enabled by God to overthrow the Greeks, there were a number of the Maccabees and those with them who gave their lives, and their blood was spilt. And the legend in Israel is that wherever their blood was spilt in reconquering and regaining the land, that a red flower would come up Here you see this red flower about 12 inches high that grows throughout Israel from April to June, right around this season. And this is not actually the flower. The red part is actually a covering. And within that covering, there is a glorious, intense yellow flower that bursts forth from in there. And this reminded me of Isaiah 11, verse 10, that he said his resting place will be glorious. Those who have been redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Isaiah says that about the Messiah, that he would be cut off out of the land of the living, taking the punishment that was due to my people, the Jewish people. It says all of us like sheep would turn astray. Each of us turned our own way, but God would lay on him the sins of us all. And it says that the Lord would crush him and make him a sin offering for us. And so this blood was spilled to bring us into freedom, to allow us now to have the glory of new life. And this flower really pictures that for me, that his resting place will be glorious. If we've been redeemed, if we've been cleansed, if the blood of the Lamb has been spilled and paid the price so that we are now just before God, we're righteous before God, then we now can be a place fitting for his habitation. We can have his resting place in us, and wherever he is, he brings his glory. He brings himself, the glorious one, and his glory bursts forth. So his resting place will be glorious. It reminds me of where Yeshua said, "This same glory, Father, which you've given me, I've given to my disciples." It says earlier in John that we looked at Yeshua and we beheld the glory from the Father. And Yeshua said, if people come and trust in me, become my disciples, he will share with us, he will give to us the glory, the presence of God that was with Yeshua would be in us. And so we want to take time here on Israeli Memorial Day. We're going to play a song from Lamb called Rama, weeping for her children. Why did they die? Why did they die? And remember those in the last century or so who have given their lives right up through today. Would you take a moment and consider the miracle and the people that have given their lives to bring about these last days, the state of Israel?
Benjamin City, I hear you cry, I hear you cry. Rama, I hear your lamentation crying, help me, somebody help me. Cannot I console you, wipe away the tears from your eyes? There's a new day coming, the prophets tell us why. Rachel, beloved wife of Jacob, I hear you cry, I hear you cry. Rachel, weeping for your children, why did they die? Why did they die? Cannot I console you, wipe away the tears from your eyes? us why. Emmanuel, promised seed of David, when will you come? When will you come? Emmanuel, you'll bear the sin of many, from the dead arise, Lord, and from the dead arise. When will you console us, wipe away the tears from our eyes? When will you return and fulfill your prophet's cry?